This is a conversation, outspoken opinionated. I am your host, Edwin Maia. If you aren't following us, we're asking you to go to YouTube, the conversation, outspoken opinionated. Go to Facebook, conversation, outspoken opinionated. Go to Instagram, outspoken opinionated podcast, and of course, we're exclusively on a live podcast network. And so I'm asking you all to just follow us, like us, do all the great things. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Again, this is the conversation, outspoken opinionated, and of course, I'm your host, Edwin Maia. Today we have a great conversation. Today's conversation really covers, us transforming our lives, but not from the beginning, but at any age, we're able to transform our lives. And so, having this conversation with me today is Janelle Hunt. Janelle, welcome to the conversation. It's good to have you. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
We are super. This conversation has been a long time coming. Every time I was like, I need to find somebody to have this conversation with. And so I was really, really excited when I, of course, stalk you on social media because that's what I do. What you're doing. But before we get into the conversation, can you just tell the people who you are, what you do, and the good things that you're doing with your book and all that other stuff that you do?
Absolutely. My name is Janelle Hunt. I help women in management amplify their self confidence, reclaim their personal power, and elevate their income by changing their pain into purpose. And I'm an author, speaker, and coach of Made on What I Know. That's the name of my book. It's called Made on What I Know. Find your serenity, reclaim your life, and pursue your goals after domestic violence. And I help women in management and I help women tell their stories because a lot of women in management hide their stories about domestic violence. So that's my mission.
Well, like I said, there's no other person I think we'll have this conversation with. I think because just reinventing ourselves, and most often when we're talking about reinventing ourselves, we think, you got to be young and, because the world is ahead of you, you can do all these great things. And for me, who I'm in my 40s, and I had to
Yes.
reinvent myself when I was 37 to start
Mm-hmm.
life all over. And it was extremely difficult based on my age and how the world is set up. But I
Yeah.
think for you and so many other people who have given us hope, you wrote a book, you're going out there encouraging people to
Yep.
speak their mind, speak up, and just talk about their lives. And so I
Mm-hmm.
really wanted to have this conversation with you, knowing that this is a journey. And so in this episode, I just want to let the people know we're really going to explore how we can reinvent ourselves in the different stages of our lives.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so my first question to you: how does reinventing look like at different life stages?
So it looks different. In my 20s, it was basically about like chasing the next opportunity. But all of this is wrapped around my faith.
Mm-hmm.
It's about taking chances. It's about in my 20s I was chasing the bag,
Yeah.
making sure I was just leveling up in my career, every opportunity that came. If God gave me the green light, if the door was open, I would take it. If he told me no, I wouldn't take it. In my 30s, I started building my career in IT. I had a little bit of IT background prior in like help desk, but then I started getting into cybersecurity. And that's how I really started building my career. But it's all about having faith and it's all about taking opportunities when they confront when you're confronted with them. Like it's not a time that yes, you take it to God in prayer, but it's also about not sitting on it because a lot of people sit on the opportunities that's in front of them and it's going to come through a person, and if you don't have your strong faith and you're not, if your ear is not to God's ear, God's mouth, then you won't be able to step forth in those opportunities that he's giving you. So that's what it looked like, transforming my life. But doors really started opening for me after I started forgiving the people of
Mm,
my past. Because you can't get to the woman or man that God is calling you to become if you don't heal from your past. So, the way that I would react to things in the past was, I'm coming for you. I'm not giving
mhm.
you any grace. I'm coming straight for you. And I was cutthroat. So when I started going through my forgiveness journey of all the things from my past, my domestic violence abuser, when I was molested as a child, when I started going back, forgiving those people who hurt me, then I started blossoming into the woman who God had created me to be. And then that's when doors really started opening for me. They opened for me all the time, but I didn't have the grace in order. I wasn't at that level with my faith, and I didn't have the grace to walk through those doors, because as you're climbing, some doors that you go through, you're going to encounter some things that you just have to brush off your shoulders. You can't come in ready to lay people out. You have to
No.
give them grace. So that's how I've been able to transform my life.
And so, as we're talking about different changes and everything that's
Mhm.
happened. It's funny because just the other day, I was having a conversation with someone, can't remember, and we were talking about different generations. And it was
Yeah.
like, for the generation now, these kids, they just want everything now. They want graduate from college and start making
Yeah.
70,000, 120,000, and
Yeah.
they don't understand that life has stages, and you have
Yeah.
to, it a little bit to go up, and you go somewhere,
Yes.
at least spend 5 years. Don't just be there for 1 year or two
Yes.
years, and you leave that job and go to a different job. But in
Yes.
the light of that, how can you identify when it's time to make a change in your life? How
So
did
how
you identify when it was time for you to make the change in your life?
so I started like feeling it. Like I get kind of like antsy. I get a little impatient with the where I'm at in the journey, like, and I know like it's time to make a shift, because I don't feel like I'm as productive when
Mm-hmm.
I'm in certain positions, when I'm ready to move forth. But of course, your flesh always wants to move forth when you're faced with different obstacles, but I do always wait on God to give me that green light, or that when he opens the door, before I transition out. But I do the work, because work
Mm.
without faith, is dead. So you got to make sure that you're doing the work so God can open the doors for you, because it's not going to come to you. You have to be already applying for that next job. You already have to be um investing in yourself. That's another way to reinvent yourself. You have to invest in yourself. We go out here all the time and get into college programs, and I'm not knocking it, because I have a degree myself and an IT certificate. But at the same time, as much as you can um invest in yourself, you can reinvent yourself any given time. And it's your investment to yourself. You're not paying Department of Education student loans. You're investing in yourself. So when you go and stand on stages and speak about your stories, when you're pouring into other people, you can be a word of encouragement to lift them up and let them know this job is not the end. There's other positions, there's another thing, something else that God is calling you to do outside of your career. So that's how, and it takes hard work. It's hard work. And you have to be dedicated. It's not going to
Mm.
come to you easy. You got to stay in some hard places for some years in order for you to get those experiences, so that you can move on, so God can open the next door for you. But He's not going to allow that next door to open up for you if you're not ready, because He knows that you're going to mess it up. So if it takes 3 years, you're still learning in the process. If it takes 5 years, you're still learning, but you'll be prepared for the next door that he has open for you.
And so some people will say, yeah, we are working hard, we're doing all the things we're supposed to do, but when it comes to you, and what steps did you take when you were purposely reinventing yourself? Because when you moved into the IT field and got your certificate, what are the different steps that you took, so that just to rebrand and to bring into this great and amazing woman that you've become?
So I went back to school in IT for cybersecurity. I took a certificate and I got into a program, and I was around like-minded individuals.
Yeah.
I was in that program in the beginning. I didn't know nothing they was talking about. I didn't even understand the framework they was talking about inside of the class. But my friend who encouraged me, she kept saying, keep going. Your ear understand what they're saying. You'll start to catch on to what they're saying. But I was getting a little wary, because it was a month and I still wasn't understanding it. It wasn't until the fifth week that I started. understanding what was being taught, when I started understanding the framework. So I always say also, when you're stepping into new territories, give yourself enough time and grace to learn the process. It may be hard in the beginning. You may think that everything that's going on, I don't understand it. And that's another thing with reinventing yourself. You're going to be in a lot of positions. You're going to be in a lot of rooms with education when you're trying to re-innovate yourself. You're going to be a lot of uncertainty. You're going to feel like you're in the wrong place. You're going to feel like this is not the right time. You're going to feel like I didn't invested this money in myself and I'm not understanding what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to feel unknown, but that's where your faith kicks in. So I'm going to say, invest in yourself. Keep your strong faith. And when opportunities arise to you, take it to God in prayer and you need to move on it. And it looks different for a lot of people. It may
Mm-hmm.
look like it may be 6 months that God is going to open the door. It may look like 3 months. It may look like 5 years. I've experienced it all, but I'm going to tell you one thing that God has always done in each position, each stage that I have been in, even creating my, writing my book, having my coaching program, Choose to Elevate. He's going to change you first before you're going to be able to help and provide services to anybody outside of your career. So say I'm in IT. I can do that with my eyes closed. I know how to talk to people. I know how to help my teammates. I know how to help the people who are on my team to make sure they're trained how to reply back to an email if they're confused about something. I can do that all day. But when you're creating something for the kingdom, he's going to fix you first. Even in your career, you're going to be tried because he's like, okay, I called you for you to do this purpose, but I'm going to fix you in the journey. So that's also a reason why sometimes he doesn't deploy you right away, because he's
Mm-hmm.
still working on you. He's working on your attitude. He's working on the way that you think, the way that you depend on him, all of that. But he's changing you first in the process so you won't mess up your destiny.
So a lot of people will say that, it's a difficult thing. It's hard for you to just sit there and be like, I'm going to start all over. And so for some young girl or some young guy or some older person who is stuck, they're
Yes.
in this place where they're stuck and they don't know where to go. What advice can you give them in considering whatever life transformation process they're in right now to change their life?
I'm going to say number one, always keep your faith. Number two, get rid of the leeches that are in your circle. The
Uh-oh.
people who are taking from you, the people who use up your time, the people who you're on the phone with 9 hours out of the day after you get out of work, the people you gossip with, all of those things you have to eliminate. Your circle is going to look like a dot at the end of the day. Because what God is calling you to do, even in your career, even when you're training, going through different trainings, when you're in education, when you're investing in yourself, and I'm not talking about college and going back to get your master's degree, that's important as well. And that is going to take time to do as well. But when you are stepping out on faith and investing your own money into what God is calling you to do, it's going to take up a majority of your time. So those people that take up your time, that God wants your time, he going to remove them. And it's going
Mm.
to be very painful. It's going to feel like I was with this person for 10 or 15 years. If I went
Yep.
to the mountaintop and I know God, I know what you're showing me. If I'm making big money, you showing me I'm going to get to this level, and I'm thinking they're going to ride out with me the whole entire time. He's like, "No. Those people that are taking your time, taking your phone time away when you could be listening to a podcast to be able to elevate your mindset, to be able to read your word, like certain things have to be eliminated. And that's the number one thing. He's going to cut down your circle. Those people that you think are your friends, as soon as you step into your purpose, you're going to really see who really supports you. And once you see that, he's going to start eliminating people in your life because he did it to me. So I'm going to say number 3, eliminate the leeches in your life. Number 3, make sure your finances are together,
Mm-hmm.
because whatever God is calling you to do, and when you are working for his kingdom, you're going to have to invest your own money. So I'm going to say make sure you have your finances in order. And I'm going to say another thing. If you have some issues that are going on in your family, make sure you get that together, because at the end of the day, your family is going to be the ones that's going to cheerlead you on. They're going to be your cheerleaders from the sideline. They're going to be there to help you take photos. They are going to help you with your self-esteem. They're going to remind you of the word that you've received from a prophet or from God. They're going to be there supporting you at the end. And at the end of the day, if all of this goes away, you already know your family is going to be the ones that are there for you. So they are the most things that I have experienced in my journey. And it's probably going to feel like you're taking 10 steps back
Oh yeah.
and 1 step forward. But when you're moving for the kingdom, it's going to feel like that. But in order for you to get to your destiny.
I like that you said that because one of my favorite Bible verse is all things work out together for our good,
Yes.
especially for those who
Yes.
love the Lord. And so
Yes.
I remember when I was going through my dark time, and I remember holding on to that verse and
Yes.
letting myself understand that it's gonna work out for me.
Yes.
Yes, it may look dark. Yes, the timing is
Mhm.
looking dark right now. The finances are crazy. You had everything and now you don't have anything. I remember I was in a room in a
Yeah.
friend's house. From someone
Mhm.
having his own house to now
Yeah.
living in a room. And
Yes.
I was just like, and I was laying there one day and I was just like, God, I know you have something for me. I know
Yes.
you have something for me, but I know
Yes.
you're taking me through this wilderness so I can get on
Yes.
to the other side.
Yes.
And a couple of months ago, I was just sitting down, just, reflecting on what God
Mhm.
has done. And I was
Yeah.
like, wow,
Mhm.
God, you just way too good. Like
Yes.
you surpasses my understanding.
Yes.
The things that you said was going to happen, they have happened, they have multiplied. I
Yes.
mean, everything is just great. And I was just giving him thanks because I was like, I know I could not do this by myself. I know it
Absolutely not.
sounded crazy to a lot of people when I was starting all over. And like you
Mhm.
said, there are people who left. There are people who I was
Yes.
friends with. There are people I mean we would talk all the time. But these
Mhm.
people, they left.
Yes.
And I miss them. I'm not gonna lie and say I didn't miss them.
Yes.
I miss them
Absolutely.
so much. But
Mhm.
I was able to get myself up and I've reinvented myself and I'm here
Yes.
today doing the things that I know that God called me to do.
Yes.
I'm 100% sure that the things that I do is
Yes,
ordained,
indeed.
it was set aside for me. And so as we have this conversation about people, and I know there are so many, someone would say, well, I might not be someone of faith.
Mhm.
I might not have, I might not be someone of faith. But I would still say to you, I think once you set your mind in your heart to do
Yes.
something, do it.
Yes.
That's
Yes. That's it. And if you got peace, if it's peace in your heart, then you know that's the right thing. And it's funny that you said that, is because God took me through a journey. I was making as much money as I possibly could make in my career, and I was just on one level after the next, and God told me to shut it down. God told me to walk away from it. God told me to let your lease go and move back home. I was like, this is crazy. um I don't know what's going on, but at the same time it all worked together for my good. And that's my favorite verse, Proverbs 3, 4, and 5. Lean
mhm,
not unto your own understanding, because that was a hard journey for me. I'm like, you
yeah.
got me making this is the most money I ever made in my career. I do so much. I help my family. I'm able to do birthdays and dinners and all types of stuff. And I was like, why are you telling me to shut this down? So I moved back home with my mom. And my sister and my nieces were here, and I was frustrated. I was unemployed for 3 months and I could not understand it. And he was taking me on a different route. I went to one bank to work, and then I left there in 3 months, and then I've been at Department of Commerce for this whole time, and I didn't understand it. And I was like, why is this going on? But I knew that God was setting me up for my next opportunity. And sometimes He's going to reroute you in order to get you to those doors that He needs you to walk through. It ain't going to make sense. It's going to look crazy to people. They're going to be like, why are you doing this? That doesn't even make sense.
Mm-hmm.
But you remember what God had told you. You remember the visions that He gave you. And the walk is going to be hard. He's going to take you to the wilderness, just like you said, but He has something better for you, even if you don't understand it. But if you have peace and it looks crazy to everybody else, just
Yeah.
continue to walk in it. Continue to walk in it.
And somebody said the other day, you also need to take into consideration that when God gave you this vision, or when God told you this is for you, He didn't tie you to anybody. He didn't give you, and so
At
if they
all.
don't understand it, they don't see it for you. Then that point be like, what? Well, I don't see that for you. You sure that is? Yeah, I don't think that's something that you can do. I don't think you should do this and do that and other. And so it's like, no, He didn't tie you to anybody. First
No,
of all, you've been on the you came, unless for people who are twins. Even when they're a twin, they don't come out together. The one
no,
person come and the other
separate.
person come after.
Yes,
Everybody came on this earth by themselves, and you will
that's
leave
it.
this earth on your own. So I think it's
Yes,
when those seasons are up, and I think when we a lot of times, we are comfortable in where we are.
yes,
It's
yes,
very comfortable. Like you
hmm,
said, you're making the most money that you
yes,
can. You're doing everything. Everything is fine. You come,
yes,
listen, it's good.
yes,
I'm not, I'm good. But then it's just come up and you be like, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, I gotta do the other. Like now you're taking me out of my comfort zone. I'm going into
yes,
this whole new environment where
yes,
people, it's different and I have got to learn it. But I think, like you talked about earlier, I think I wanted us to just drift away and talk about seasons. I think
yes,
there are so many different seasons in our lives.
mhm,
And I think people are afraid of failure
yes,
when reinventing themselves. And so for
mhm,
someone like you who have done the work, you have come out on the other side. How do you talk to someone who say, I'm afraid, I don't know what to do?
mhm.
What did you do to conquer your fear?
So what I did was I always just kept my ear, and I kept always reading the word, reading God's word. But I was surrounded by a strong family who consistently prayed for me, who consistently went into deep prayer for me to get me back to the state where I needed to be, because I would be a mess at times. Like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I would just cry, like a wailing cry, because I didn't understand what God was doing. Yes, you're going to think that you're going to fail. But one thing that always kept me, because God speaks to me in dreams, and I can hear him speak sometimes when he's ready for me to hear whatever he needs to say. And I write down what he tells me. And when
Mm.
I get to those moments, because we're human, you do doubt sometimes when you're going through a hard season, when you're in a roller coaster season. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down, and you're like, all of this work I'm putting into this, what's going on? Why haven't I seen the fruit of my labor? I remember all the doors he opened for me previously in my life. I remember the visions that he showed me in dreams, where I'm going to end up, my destiny that I'm going to get to. And that's what holds me, because I know this is all for a purpose. Like I know each job is preparing me for my purpose, because I used to be scared to speak up. Like if I was comfortable with everybody, I could speak up. I could address anybody in the room. If I was fine, it was okay. But let me get in front of a group of people that don't know me and I don't know them, I wouldn't speak up. I would be as quiet as a mouse. So going in this journey, it made me amplify my voice. It helped
Mm.
me address the things that was holding me back from speaking up. And it all ties into forgiveness, because you don't want to talk about certain things in you see yourself as people see you. You got to start looking at yourself as God sees you. And once
Yes.
you forgive and start seeing yourself as God sees you, because you'll never be pleasing to man because it's humans. But if you stay true to God and you allow yourself to see yourself as God sees you, can nothing stop you. Can nothing hold you back in each position that you are in. It's going to position you to be prepared to be able to create a podcast, to be able to go on TV, to speak about your story, to get in front of 500 people and tell your story in some of the most vulnerable moments.
Yeah.
Sometimes God will have you talk about things and you be like, I don't want to share that. But He's like, I want you to share that because this is where I met you at. I met you in the wilderness. I need you to show how you got from point A to point B and how you're getting ready to get to point C, but it was all with His grace and mercy. So that's how I get through failure because
Mm-hmm.
I know what He's done in the past. He's done things that some things I worry about in my head. I'm thinking like, well, how I'm going to pay for this for the
Uh-huh.
business, how I'm going to do this photo shoot for the business. And God's like, I told you to schedule it. I didn't tell you to worry about finances. I didn't tell you to worry about where's your next going to come from because I provide all your needs.
Yes.
I make sure everything is taken care of. I just tell you because God sometimes will tell you, um, make this appointment. Or I want you to talk about this. I want you to talk about this in your content. I want you to talk about this. And you're like, why are you telling me this? But it's for somebody and you won't even understand it. But as long as you are obedient, He'll open up those doors. So trust in God because He only gives you what you need in that moment as far as making the steps to your destiny. But as long as you keep taking those steps and being obedient, even if it makes you feel so uncomfortable, even if you feel like I feel like I'm gonna fail. I don't think this is the right route for me because it's so uncomfortable. But I'm gonna say trust Him and remember the words that He told you and remember the dreams and visions that He has brought upon you and that just remember all the doors He opened up in your past, what He's done for your family in the past, from sick beds to hospital rooms, just everything He's provided when you needed extra money. So I just look at those things and I know God is going to open up a door because I sow into His kingdom. So also, if everything is aligned with God and what He's doing, if you're aligned with His Son Jesus Christ and you're aligned with Him, if everything you do, if your business is first to Him, if your finances on your, that you get for your income from your job, if everything is aligned with God, He gonna open up a door because you're
Mm-hmm.
doing everything in His principles.
Yep. You mentioned, you talked about how, you will go places, or you give an example of, you going to talk about something else and then you start to talk about something else. And
Yes.
that happened to me, during the process of doing the podcast. And so I get requests to be on other podcasts. And so I was
Yeah.
invited to be on a podcast in Virginia. And it was just going to be talking about my podcast, what I do and stuff like that. In the middle of the podcast, I don't know how that happened, but we started talking about me when I went through a divorce. And I said so much and I talked, and this girl, and she was just there, and I just kept on sharing and sharing and sharing and sharing. And I was just like, and after everything, I was like, how did that happen? But I felt that in that moment, God needed me to
Yeah.
speak on that conversation.
Yes.
Couple of months later, I get a message on Facebook from somebody
Yeah.
who said to watch that podcast, and what
Yeah.
I said
Wow.
really moved them because they never they went through a divorce, but it wasn't, they
Mhm.
never knew that other people can have similar issues like them,
Yeah.
losing everything and rebuilding your life,
Yes.
and had to go through the struggle and going through uh, uh, um, custody battle and
Yes.
all that kind of stuff, and being a man, and just the
Mhm.
struggle that men go through, as black men
Yeah.
go through when it comes to divorce and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, I see, God, I see what you were doing.
Yeah.
That's what you did. You
Yeah.
knew that somebody needed that information to empower themselves, and so you set me up, like you
Yeah.
said, that door opened, He kicked that door.
Yes.
He let allow because those people just reached out to me from nowhere, drove all the way 2 hours away to Virginia
Wow.
somewhere, did the podcast. Yep. And I feel like, like you said, I think once you start aligning yourself with the things that
Yes.
God has set for you, doors
Yes.
starts to open.
Yes.
You get these speaking engagements. People, you be like, me? They're like, yeah, we see what you're doing. Can you come and be a guest speaker? Can you come and do
Yes.
this? Like you talk about, you got your book. All the different things
Yes.
that we're doing is because, like you said, we took that leap of faith and we
Yes.
say yes to that
Yes.
call, no matter
Yes.
what it is. And I think a lot of times people think, and you can, people think that, when they say, oh, there's a call, then you got to be a preacher, you got to do this, you got to do, no,
Yeah.
whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like me and my friends who call this, we are in our ministry, it's a marketplace.
That's
Wherever
it.
you at, you need
That's it.
to make sure that his kingdom is being talked about.
Yes.
The things that you are set there to do, you do it. You be
Yes.
professional. Just do these things are
Absolutely.
aligned with what Christ wants us to do. And I think it's super
Yes.
important as we reinvent, because I think a lot of people we talked about earlier, they don't want to do the work.
No.
They want this magic to happen. Like, oh my
Yeah.
God, look at Janelle. Everything is working
Yeah.
out for her. Why can't I just be like her? And
Yes.
I growing up as a kid, my dad used to say, do you know, you don't know what that person had to do to get to where they're at right now. So not
Yes.
so when you see them pulling out of the 3-car garage and they're driving a
Yes.
Ferrari and they're going out there, you don't
Yes.
know the work that that man or that woman had to put in
Yes.
to get to the place now where she says, I'm
Yes.
retired and I'm living my best life. So
Yes.
don't just see it and want it. Do the
Right.
work.
You got to do the work. Ain't
Yeah.
no other way but to do the work, because
Hmm.
he gonna take you through a journey, and that's what I always say. You have to not look at the things that are in front of you, because just like you, I had to move back home after my domestic violence relationship. I was living in a house with my abuser. I had my own room in another room to just do business, and I had to shut all that down and come back home to my mom's house and go into a one bedroom into the room, and then I had to pick myself up every day to make sure I still went to college. And I would go to sleep at night crying, wake up crying. But I'm so glad for those moments, because that's how you reinvent yourself. You just take one step at a time and do something every day to get you to your destiny. And I know it's hard. You may even do it with tears in your eyes, but
Hmm.
that's how you get to reinvent yourself.
And I think with that, we can just jump into building confidence. And I think
Yes.
you have to do that. It's so with you, I know, like for me, I know what I had to do. I just was just grounded in the things that I know that God promised me. The things
Yes.
that I knew that, okay, he gave me the ability to do all these different things. I know he's not going to forsake me. I know he's going to
Yes.
be with me. No matter what I'm going through right now, I know God is here. So I'm going
Yes.
to get up every day knowing that
Mhm.
this process I'm going through is going to make me to be the better person I am. So talking
Yes.
about that, how did you build your confidence to continue doing what you were doing to get to where you are right now?
So I healed from my past,
Hmm.
because
Okay.
I was getting to a point where I was just like, I didn't like want to meet any new people. Like I wasn't even going to be able to elevate to the woman that God was calling me to be, because you have to build relationships, you have to network in order to build a relationship, because your next blessing is always going to come through a person,
Yep.
because God will tug on their heart and say, this is the person for this job, or this is the person for this speaking engagement. This is the business I want you to work with. But I had to heal to shed all those things from my past so that I could see myself as God sees me. And I, like I told you, I stayed in the word. I didn't pay attention to what people were saying, because when you worry about what people are saying, you get stuck. You're like, oh my gosh, she moved back home. Why is God telling her to talk about her story? I may have been around her when she was in that relationship. So I don't, what you just think about things. Your imposter syndrome starts to set in. Is it good enough? Is this what people want to hear? But I had to work on my inner self, I had to remember who I was before the
Mm-hmm.
domestic violence, because the domestic violence is just a season that I went through. It's not
Yep.
my entire life. I had to remember the things that Janelle liked to do, what made me happy, getting up, getting dressed, getting myself together, making myself feel beautiful and presentable. That made me start building my confidence back, and I have a strong family foundation that always supported me and always reminded me, even when I didn't think I looked my best. Because the thing about God is, He ain't even going to use you when you at your best. He going to use you before you get to your best. So you may be like, why? I'm not even completely healed yet. I'm not at the size I want to be yet. I still want to get a little bit more fit. I want to lose about 20 more pounds. He'll still say, this is the time. I want you to show this, because this is reality. Like, God is not, attached to our time. It's His time. So I had to just walking in that. And when God had started calling me when I didn't feel like I was ready, that helped me be like, okay, God, you're telling me to do this. You know that I'm ready. So you
Mm-hmm.
already know my confidence is there. So let me get myself together and get there, because you're calling me to it. So I already know I got it. I know I can be able to step into it. I just got to have the faith to do it, because He knows if He gives you instructions, He's like, He already got it. She already got it. I just need you to move in it. And
Yep.
that's why I always tell people, see yourself as God sees you, and see yourself what God tells you to do. Because if He's telling you to speak, you're already a speaker. If He's telling you to write, you're already a writer. If He's telling you to produce podcasts, you're already a producer. But we just have to believe it and step into it and elevate our mindset.
And I like you said, I think that is very profound. See yourself as the way God sees you. I think it's
Yeah.
super important. And I think a lot of times we're not looking at that. We're more focusing on people's people ideology about us and what are they
Yes.
gonna say and how are they gonna say. When He
Yes.
already said, this is you, this is
Right.
what I put you on this earth to do. And so
Yes.
once you start to see, and it's funny because once you start to see yourself, then you start to believe it. Then you start
Yes.
to do it. And you'd be like, oh,
Yeah.
sure, I could do this. And people would be like, oh, yeah, you're so great at it. You'd be like, I'm great at it? Like me? You're like,
Yes.
yeah, you were good. You
Yes.
were really, really good. We're really, I'm like,
Yes.
what?
Yes.
Because I never saw myself doing that because that's what God saw me doing. And the time
Yes.
when I in tune myself with Him and align myself with the things that He wants me to do, now it's like, damn, I arrived. This is
Yes.
me. This is really me. This is
This
what
is
I do.
it.
And I tell people that all the time. I say, because when I was like doing this and doing that and doing all these things and being there for people and going to this place and setting these things up, I was doing it. But now the things that I do, podcast being one of them, I am fulfilled. I
Yeah.
don't, nobody needs to pay me to do it. Nobody
Yes.
needs to run and scream at me. But if you
Yes.
call me and say, "Hey, you want to be we're looking for a guest speaker. Let's be like I get so much all the speaking engagements and all this
Yes.
stuff because everything when I did before, I did it in a secluded area. I did it at church.
Yes.
Everything I did was at church. But now
Wow.
that I've exposed myself and I've really
Yes.
allowed Christ to use me, and it's funny because when I was in the church, I thought that's what He wanted me to do. I mean, I
Yes.
was in the church, I was in the ministry, I was doing
Yes.
everything. And now it's different because it's like, no, I call you for the
Hmm.
marketplace. You know what I
That's
mean? It's
it.
like I call you for the marketplace. Go out there,
That's
meet
it.
people, go out there, be speaking with, be a speaker at conferences,
Yes.
be a speaker at summits, and so many different
Yes.
opportunities was open. And I was like, wow, when you just align yourself with the plans that God has for you, and like you said, when you see yourself the way God sees you, it makes a huge difference.
Big. It's
It makes
huge.
a huge difference. But
Yes.
as we winding down, because I just want to ask you, what common mistakes do you think people make when they are trying to reinvent themselves?
So, I think they worry about what people are going to say,
Mm-hmm.
because there's some things that you don't want to share. You worry about what your family's going to say, especially like if it's a family secret.
Yeah.
If it's, how our parents was back in the day, something happens in the family, it stays in the family because that's how they was taught. Um, you worry about certain things. Your imposter syndrome is set in. You know, what about what people at work would say? But I'm gonna say it's all a part of the enemy's tactics,
Oh yeah.
because he's going to try to steal your voice. He's going to try to hold you back. He's going to try to bring all these things up that you wouldn't even imagine that would come to your forefront. And it's all in your mind. It's all about your thoughts. And that's where the enemy attacks first, because he doesn't want you to get to where God is calling you. And everybody, like you said, I'm not called to the church yet. It ain't my season, but
Yeah.
God wants me to be a blessing in the IT, the cybersecurity field, and He wants me to be a blessing to women that's overcoming the domestic violence, just like
Mm-hmm.
you. He may even take you into helping men overcome the lingering after effects of divorce, because it's a
Yeah.
lot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I always go back to just remember what God told you, because he knows that you're strong enough to talk about it. He knows whatever he put in you, it's time to unleash it. But the enemy is going to do everything that he can think of to stop you. You may even be in an efficiency where you like, I don't have this, I don't have that. He going to use whatever you have to be able to help the people that you are called to, but we just got to trust it. We just have to believe his word, and we just have to move forward. And as long as you believe it and you have your relationship with God and you moving forward, that's all that matters. Because
Mm-hmm.
some people don't have family. Some people don't have somebody that they can depend on. It's really just you and God. And in a season, it was just me and God, because some of the things I was going through, I was ashamed to even share. So he wanted me to depend on him to be able to get through that. And I'm just going to say, just trust him, and don't allow the enemy to hold you back from your destiny. Don't allow the enemy to hold you
Oh
back
yes.
with fear, and for you to get to your next opportunity. And every door, small or big, is just setting you up for your destiny. You may even feel like you're in a moment where you feel stuck, but it's for your good, because he's changing something in you. You might have the
Mm.
most horrible boss, but you can still go in there and be a blessing to them. You can still go in there and smile. You can even pray for them that they have a wonderful day the next day before you go to bed. You can even ask God to just release angels into the atmosphere for so it won't feel so heavy. But that's what it's all about. He's just changing what you need to change inside of you so that you can get to your next destiny. So trust the process. It's much bigger than you. It's much bigger than those people you work with. It's much bigger than
Well, Janelle, you have given us so much tools for us to move
you.
out and do the things that we want to do. But before you get out of here, before we leave, I want to ask you. I know you wrote a book, and I know
Yes.
you are. I know you've been sharing this information about it on social media. But can you
Yes.
just tell us a little bit about the book, what our expectations will be, reading it, and all that good stuff?
Absolutely. So it's all about the journey of with God, the strategies God gave me to overcome the lingering effects of domestic violence. It's about shifting your mindset. It's about self care, and it's about going after your goals before the trauma and before the incident. Who are you before you went through that season in your life? And God has more for you. So that's what it's all about. Just helping women overcome the lingering after effects of domestic violence. And you can also go and grab a copy at madeonwhatiknow.com, and you can also come on to Instagram and you can follow me. It's the Janelle Hunt. On Facebook, it's just Janelle Hunt.
Mm-hmm. And it's made. You said what it's called? Made on What I Know.
Madeonwhatiknow.com.
Madeonwhatiknow.com. But
Yes.
my people, this was Janelle Hunt. She has given us so much information. We are super excited for you just taking out the time to be here with us, for
Thank
sharing with
you.
us, for sharing and giving us proof that
Yes.
reinventing lives do happen, and we will get on to the other side. So I
Yes.
said thank you again for being here. Thank you for
Thank
honoring our
you.
invitation, and we hope to more and more podcasts and more books
Yes.
and more conferences and more
Yes.
speaking engagements and all the great things that God has for you. We say, may it
Yes.
come to pass.
Yes.
May it come to
Amen. Thank
pass.
you so
Amen.
much. It has been an honor. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for being here with us. You have a
Thank
great
you.
evening.
You too. Thank you.
Okay, bye. Well, people, of course, you guys had it was a great conversation. I mean, we just had a good time. We talked from reinventing yourself, the things you need to do, what your expectations should be, how you should trust in your faith. And I think that's something super important. There are a lot of us, there are a lot of people out there who aren't spiritual enough, but trust and believe in yourself. Trust and believe that there is a higher power, there is a creator. And I say this all the time. Yes, we know that with God, for us who are Christians and who believe in God, all things are possible. And with that being said, I would say again, this was the conversation. Outspoken and opinionated. Of course, I am your host, Edwin J. Maia. If you're unfollowing us, go to YouTube, The Conversation Outspoken and Opinionated. Go to Facebook, The Conversation Outspoken and Opinionated. You can go to Instagram, The Outspoken and Opinionated Podcast, as well as at Live Podcast Network, where you can get our podcast episodes exclusively. You just have to download a live podcast app from Apple Store or from any Google Store, and you can get our podcast. But without further ado, I see you next week Thursday, and I hope you all have a great time.